Welcome to The Way with your best era hosts, Ryan McKean and Brittany Green. The podcast where we dive deep into the world of legal business and marketing. So whether you're a lawyer, marketer, or business owner in the legal industry, this podcast is for you.
Hey, Ryan, how's it going?
It's going well, Brittany. How are you?
I'm good. We're in our heat wave here in New England. So I see you're outside on your screened-in porch for this episode.
I am on my screened-in porch where I love to work for like a few months out of the year, but we are in New England, so that basically means like I get May till October before it becomes unpalatable, but I take it as much as I can. It's very inspiring to be in an office out here. Like Noah Kahn says, I'm listening to the birds he does not shoot because they are singing in the background, and it's fairly invigorating to watch squirrels and birds and the sounds of the woods and the occasional bear that comes traipsing through my yard.
So we were having an interesting discussion earlier this morning before we hopped on here. You want to talk about it?
Yeah, well, first, we are going to talk about where we are going to be doing a podcast from this summer. We, as a team, are having our Italian era. It's an exclusive event, so we're not inviting you. You're not invited out there if you're listening. As much as we would love to have you, our villa only sleeps us, and we are going to be going to Italy and recording an episode from Italy with our Best Era team this summer, which I am so looking forward to.
Yeah, we're very excited for that. Very impromptu, a little bit, was definitely unexpected, but I am so looking forward to an Italian summer. Never been. I think I'm the only one on the team that hasn't been. So very, very excited to look forward to that. And like Ryan was saying before we hopped on to, I am a huge charcuterie person, and we are going to Bologna, which is specifically the like wine and cheese region and food region. So I will be eating a lot of parm and prosciutto and all the good stuff. I cannot wait.
You know, though, what I'm going to tell you is it's like when you fly business class or something like that, it's going to ruin it for you. So
I
just
know.
be careful. You're going to be like, yeah, this parm is not as good. This
I know.
salami not as good, but in my opinion, it's worth ruining because you can always go back.
Exactly. I mean, you know what? There are worse things in life than having parm in the U.S. ruined for me, because there's other cheeses that the U.S. does do very well, thankfully. So at least we have that. Yeah, I'll leave the parm to the experts over there.
Yeah, I don't know the Italians are super into cheddar cheese, and I'm a big cheddar
No,
cheese fan. So
exactly.
cheddar cheese from the land of Vermont, Noah Kahn, or the
Yes.
land of Noah Kahn, Vermont.
Yeah.
No, but it's fantastic, and so looking forward to it. And sort of like to bring it full circle, right? We're talking about our AI era, and we're recording this. It's mid or almost late May now. We're 2/3 of the
Yeah.
way through May, and
Memorial Day is this weekend. I cannot believe it already. Unofficial start of summer.
unbelievably wild. And I'm like, our best era team is like, we're booked out into 2027 almost.
Pretty much.
We
So
could squeeze some
get your
things in
annuals.
there.
I was going to say, get your annuals this winter in now because
Oh.
we're probably going to be booked pretty soon.
I did book an annual already in December in San Juan, Puerto Rico. So we are going to go
Look at
international.
that.
The same firm wanted to come up here to see the snow. They did that once. No more.
And we
Last
said
year was
no more.
Miami, and this year it'll be San Juan. So that's very exciting to me.
Awesome.
Like to sort of bring this all like sort of full circle. Yesterday's Google's I/O, and really like the head of Google DeepMind is one of like the leading AI experts in the world. Like he is who Elon Musk wishes he was. Incredibly credible, incredibly academic, incredibly bombastic, and very measured. So yesterday, Google's doing its I/O thing, and there's so many implications to this. Like they announced like their version of agentic AI, which is essentially like Claude co-work and code right in Gemini, which if you're a Google Workspace user will be really fantastic, and allow you to do a lot. They announced really something profound too, which is the change in search, right? And
Hmm.
Google basically said websites are dead, and the way in which we search is no more. They've expanded their AI search bot search, and increasingly, it's not going to direct to websites, right? Like that is a really profound thing. That is a profound thing for legal. And I'm not saying like go cancel your SEO contract or go delete your website or anything, but you're talking about really like a headless web. And how do you stand out and what matters and all of these things, right? Like that is profound. But we're not talking about those things. We are not talking about those things. What we are talking about is how, he predicted that um that there will be perhaps artificial general intelligence, which is superhuman intelligence by the end of this year. Right. And so you're talking about, practically like right now, you are talking about, Claude being like assistive technology, or maybe it went from, last year to, you could do it to tasks, this year to maybe a colleague. We're talking about this intelligence that you, me, or anybody can access having a mind of its own. And ultimately giving rise to what they call singularity, which is artificial intelligence that humans don't understand, that we cannot control, and that develops itself. Okay. Yeah, you're like,
Yeah, Ryan and I have very differing
well,
views on the what that future looks like.
I don't,
Ryan has a more optimistic view than I do.
I no, I don't have an optimistic view. I I'm challenged by it. Okay. I'm
Sure.
challenged by it because last year and we're doing the AI era. So we're trying to plan an amazing AI event that is incredibly relevant to legal. And it is an incredibly shifting target here because I'm like, well, okay, look, all the development of AI that has gone on since our last AI era event, I mean, like all of our content, useless. Not useless, but pretty damn close.
Outdated at this point. Yes.
Outdated, right? Very fast. And, we're talking our event right now is, 5.5 months out. So we still have some time. And the question I'm asking myself is like, what if come this fall, Claude is 100 times better than what it is right now?
Sure. Yeah.
And
I mean, we need to be adaptive for sure.
well, we do. And, I don't know, but it is safe to say that this technology will be massively better by November.
Yes.
Whether or not we have AGI, whether or not we have singularity in the next 5 years, what that all means, what it means is to me the interesting question. Like, what are the implications of this, right? Because for most of human history, for better and worse, I mean, worse if you are, some animals will say, like it's been a human centered world. If you're a human, it's been pretty okay. Like you are sort of at the center of the world. Like we think of ourselves, right or wrong, as sort of like the center of nature. Like the world exists for us in a
Sure.
way.
We
And
are the
then
apex predator. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
yeah, and it comes with its challenges, but comes with its benefits. But it's an established sort of world, right? And the real profound questions aren't like I'm not like wow it unlocks utopia. Like I do believe, and we saw this talk given by this complete Silicon Valley tech jerk at Lex Summit a few years ago,
Yes.
who kept mentioning that he flies on Elon's plane every time he could get. If you are out there and want to know, he's got some podcasts. But he's well connected. And one of the things he said is like, look, if you could like live the next 10 years, you could probably live another 100 years. And in fact, like and this is one of the things that Google was talking about, the advances in medicine that will come. I mean, I really, it's going to be profound and rapid, and what that can all do and what that all means is unbelievable. I mean, you're going to see cures for things like cancer. You're going to see cures for things like Alzheimer's. Like these are essentially information problems in our systems, cures for autoimmune disease, cures for all sorts of different things that plague humanity and cause immense suffering. That the knowledge is there to solve those things, and in fact will be, and that's to me amazing, right?
I just have so my skepticism comes in where yours is still very optimistic, is that, you know, the rich men above are not going to just like willingly give up, profit to, make sure everyone is healthy and that we all get to live till we're 100. When that guy spoke at Lex Summit and was talking about that, all I could hear was, yeah, if you can live the next 10 years, you can live to 100. Yeah, if you're rich enough. There's at some point, I'm just skeptical because of the life, I've lived so far that I've seen that, we make an advancement and then the door gets shut behind, before everyone else gets to go through it, kind of thing. So I just come at all of this with more skepticism. Am I excited for seeing these cures? Of course. I mean, I that's all I would want, and I think of all of the great things that can come. I know we need to figure out what else needs to happen in our society to make sure that those things are created in a way that we'll see it equally shared amongst everyone. I just have more skepticism that that part is going to actually be able to be fulfilled. So that's where I come at it from.
Yeah, I don't think anybody knows how it plays out.
Right, of
I
course.
don't think anybody at the head of Google, at the head of Anthropic knows how this plays out. And I think they're honest when they say that. I think they are also honest when they say like it is massively disruptive. Like
Yes,
that is
of course.
is the thing. Like things are going to get upended, and all of us. Like I mean, like I'm not just talking knowledge workers. I'm talking plumbers. I'm like all. Like I mean, we were watching a video of a robot becoming a Buddhist monk this morning in our private Slack channel.
But like, what is the purpose of that realistically? Like, what purpose does that serve? And so some of it is
That's
I have to come
performative.
at right.
That's performative, but I fully believe in 10 years we will see robotic plumbers. I believe we'll see robotic electricians, like robotic construction workers, unquestionably.
I don't disagree with you. I mean, let's be real here. Like we technically already have things like robotic surgeons, right? Like we have
Yeah.
laparoscopic surgery. Um, but I guess it'll be interesting to see, like with anything, what like with the laparoscopy, like you've still got that real human surgeon behind it, right? So I guess that's where the conversation becomes like where where and when does the human stop? I guess, in what's coming, right? And everything that's potentially coming.
That's what I agree with, and I'm saying, like, we will have like, autonomous surgeons, we will have autonomous plumbers, we will have the robot that comes out to your house that diagnoses the problem and fixes the problem. That's to me where this is where this is heading, right? And, like, when that happens but I mean, it is sort of like a Jetsons future in a way in that regard, and the timing of it, the impact, whether or not it's shared equally, whether or not it's a tool of oppression or a tool of justice. Like all of these things to me are really, really big questions, really, really important questions. And all of them, to me at this point are so much more interesting than the tech. And because, and like I love tech, I love legal technology, I love toys. It has gotten to the point right now in May 2026. It is so easy, it's boring. And
Sure.
so, like, learn how to automate your firm through Claude. Okay, like, I'm not like opposed to that, but that to me is like 5% of the exciting story. Like, that is doable, knowable, and not challenging at this moment, right? And yeah, not everybody understands it, but when I've sat down with people for who have never used it, I was sitting down with a client last week for about 90 minutes and I was just explaining it and again, never used the product and is like, oh my gosh. And I'm not a coder, I'm not any of those things. And nor do I hold myself out to be like the world's most knowledgeable person on Claude. I just mess with it a bunch. That part is not that interesting to me. Using it to organize information, write briefs, do spreadsheets, that's not really that interesting. I mean, in fact, I gave a talk when you were there down in Orlando, and it was like, "Hey, I want you to do this PowerPoint presentation based upon this and all this stuff." Bill Umansky, who we were down there for, he gave me a podcast topic like at 9:30 at night to give a talk at noon the next day. and I drew from my materials. I directed Claude to some Google Drive folders. I had it do it. It did a thing according to my standards, and I was like, "Oh, this is ugly." I plug it into PowerPoint, and I say, "Gussy it up," because this looks like terrible, and it did, and it made a very professionally formatted slide deck in my voice in all of about 20 minutes worth of work that would have taken me a day or more to pull off, and it wouldn't even have been that good. But like that's not that interesting to me. Like that is not that interesting. But what is interesting is like what are the moral consequences of this? Like what are the legal consequences? And we're not going to answer these questions on this, but like this is where my head is. Are these superhuman robots going to have individual rights in courts? Are they going to be subject to courts? Are they going to have civil rights? Are they just going to opt out of courts? Like, if you are talking about, which is what is being talked about with AGI and with singularity, you are talking about autonomous corporations running themselves according to their own rules. Okay? Not human rules, not things that we tell them to do, not our legal system, literally their own system that we can't control, infiltrate, or influence. And like, well, what does that mean, right? Like, what does that mean when all of that gets turned over? How does the legal system deal with it? How do humans deal with it? What are the moral consequences of, you know, because we can talk about things like curing cancer, but you can also talk about, you're probably too young for this one, Brittany, but like the movie, like Minority Report. Yeah, but it's a futuristic movie. It involves Tom Cruise. Came out probably like, I don't know, 15 years ago or so, maybe more than that.
Okay, well,
It's
I'm
like,
not too young for 15 years ago.
but it's like pre-kid.
Granted,
Yeah.
I'm not a like sci-fi, you know.
This was a big like summer blockbuster. Tom Cruise.
I'm also not a Tom Cruise fan, so maybe that's it. Minus Top Gun. I'm not a Tom Cruise fan.
Tom Cruise is just an aside for me. Like he's one of these people who, there's always this question, right? Of like, can you separate like
The art,
the
yeah.
artist from the art, right?
Oh, it's 2002, so I was
2000.
11.
Yeah,
That's a little bit more than 15 years
all
ago,
right.
but
Yeah,
yes.
it's pre-kids. It's pre me having kids. That
Yeah,
I can
when
tell
you actually watched movies, yeah.
when I had time to
Yeah.
watch movies,
Anything
right?
after 2000, like 2004, and I name a movie, you're like, "What?"
Yeah, yeah, but anyhow, but like so 2002, it even makes a point more. But Tom Cruise, back to sort of Tom Cruise, I think he's an amazing actor. I mean, like he does his stunts, he does his own stunts, like he sells all sorts of different roles, he's good in different things. But
It's
as a
because he's insane as a
but
person.
no, but as a person, like as a movie, I'm like he's fantastic in the roles he plays. Like
Sure.
fantastic. I
Yeah.
do like the Mission Impossible series. Like I do. The heart wants what the heart wants, but as a person, not so into him.
No,
But
definitely not.
but we have diverged. If you were still listening to us rant about Tom Cruise, this is not why you came to this podcast. But the movie Minority Report talks about, essentially an algorithm that prevents crimes, which sounds good, right? Like you want to prevent murder. Like that's a good thing. You want to prevent domestic abuse. But it's essentially super intelligence that has reports on all of our activity in like a futuristic surveillance state that says, hey, Brittany Green is likely to, use the best era credit card to buy a Louis Vuitton purse. And it, down descend like these robots before you go and do it, and they arrest you based upon that, right? And like with all the connectivity, all the technology, with the algorithm, like
I was gonna say, we're not really far from that. I
but
mean,
no,
that's
no, no,
pretty
no.
much where we are.
But yeah, and you look at what went on with ICE and with Plantier and
Right.
all of these sorts of things, right?
Yeah.
Absolute tools of oppression, because they are massively powerful databases, the ability to massively analyze different things, spot trends, and also make autonomous decisions, right? So, if I'm a comp on a beat, I'm like, I'm not going to arrest her for that, okay. But if you're the algorithm, you're like, no, infringing upon Louis Vuitton's corporate rights or, whatever that is. And you send robots and you go arrest Brittany. But like these to me are the discussions that we need to be having as a society and as lawyers who are really law is the operating system for society. And it's why I think you see a number of lawyers vocal about this on all levels, where you have a federal government that does not respect the rule of law. The president of the United States just you know, made himself immune from taxes yesterday
Yeah.
and gave like $1.7 billion to his friends. That's not the rule of law. The rule of law is I should be as equal as anybody else. If the president should have to pay taxes, I should have to pay taxes, right? This is what we are. It's disconcerting on a political level, and this isn't a political show, but it's a challenge to the rule of law. And but so is this technology that people cannot control, a challenge to the rule of law. And I'm just thinking through how do we have, our goal is to have the most meaningful conference and conversation that we can have for the profession. And we're bringing in tech people, we're bringing in people who are going to help you optimize your Claude code, and who even knows what platforms there are come November. But how do we wrestle with these almost existential or
Yeah.
spiritual questions,
Philosophical.
moral
Yeah.
questions, or philosophical questions? I invited our resident Best Era community philosopher, Owen McGran, back to talk
As you should. Yes,
about
definitely.
it. But today I was scrolling through Instagram, and Father Monsignor James Martin, who's very popular on Instagram and Twitter, a Jesuit priest, and he's talking about the morality surrounding AI, and what essentially how do we protect human dignity? And the concerns to me are access to justice, protection of rights against robots, protection of individuals against governments, protections of individuals against companies that are acting outside the jurisdiction of governments. Like, who subpoenas a machine? There's no
Right.
jail you can put the algorithm in. How do we wrestle with this, right? Because I think, if we can start answering those questions as a profession, and I don't have the answers, I struggle with this immensely. How do we optimize to make the future closer to my version of optimistic,
Right.
where things are better, where there is more justice? I'll just submit that it's a choice. And I think one of the things that the powerful really thrive on is convincing you that it's inevitable. I don't think it's inevitable. It may be inevitable at a certain point. I don't think it's inevitable right now, but we can't solve for this if we can't talk about it. And we can't have honest discussions and saying yeah, I take no joy in any of this. And I say this, and nobody's immune. Not lawyers, not Best Era, not teachers, not plumbers, not this is everything. This is an everything societal problem. What do we do when we displace work? I was actually thinking about this because I was in church, and it was the priest was there's some biblical passage. I don't know what they read these things in church, Brittany. And it was talking about how work is a necessary part of essentially spirituality.
Sure.
And I think
Well,
that's probably
yeah.
reflected in all religions or in different ways, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because it's right. Yeah. It's obviously our human, it's like a survival instinct at some level, I'm assuming, right? Because, back in the day when it was just your work was hunting for the day, to find food, your work was gathering for the day, your work was building a fire, your work was building shelter. and then, yeah, and then it just advanced, that there had to be something that you toiled away at, right, during the day that gave you some sort of purpose for your life.
I think I think it's I think yes, and I think like, look, it comes from a survival instinct, but I think it comes from a belief that, like, somehow this all exists for some purpose, right? Like, we may
Right.
not know what that is, like, but I think that's, like, the great theological question across all
Well, and I think that's
religions.
what separates humans from the other animals, right? Is that
Yeah,
we
all right.
do feel like we have this part of our intelligence, or whatever this piece is, that convinces us that yes, we have to have more of a purpose than just existing like animals do. I think that's obviously like a very basic, but that's like the clear difference between humans and animals. And so, yeah, we're constantly grappling with what that means to have a purpose. And it's always been easy to say, well, work is our purpose, of some kind.
Right. Like, whether you're a teacher and it's, we get people get joy from their work. And, like, there is a dignity in, and look, I've done all sorts of jobs. I've stocked shelves and I've shoveled mulch and but there's a dignity that comes with that, right? There's a dignity. And, like, for lawyers, I think that the trouble is it actually goes beyond that for lawyers. For lawyers, it is not just work, it is identity.
Yes.
And, how do we have a healthy profession when I think it does threaten identity? Like, I think it gets that deep, and I think it causes, like, psychological stress in an immense way that deserves to be recognized because okay, yeah, years ago or back in the days of last year and the year before, it was like, well, the AI is not as good as me. And the truth is that right now the AI is better than most lawyers. And the absolute truth is in a year or 6 months, AI will be 100 times better than most lawyers. Right. And so what matters, right? Like what matters? Like, how do we serve each other? What does work like? Like, how do we structure that? And I was texting with a lawyer who I turned on to Claude, and he's just like, I was telling him, I was like, well, I asked him this question. I said, well, what if imagine that it's 100 times better? And he's like, it's so good now. And I was like, no, 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 no. He's like, it does everything I needed to do for me. It does everything I needed to do. And I was like, yeah, and it will do it without you.
Hmm.
It will do it without you. And it's like, well, I like and, like, again, I don't have answers. Like, I don't I like you look like depressed on this. So maybe we should end this podcast. I don't want to end it on a depressed note, but I think the honest.
Depressed about it. I think we also have to grapple with, I completely agree with you that none of this is going to get fixed or changed until more of us are having these discussions, and we're having these discussions with, especially, you and the other lawyers out there who, because of having that identity of lawyer, you have your voice matters more than a lot of the average citizens. And but even if you're not a lawyer, I think we need to be having these conversations. We need to be very involved in, our local and larger governments, and making sure our voices are continually getting heard about how we're feeling about these things, because the only way, yeah, to start making change on a sizable proportion is to have more of us talking about these things, and grappling with these feelings and discussions.
Yeah, and I mean, you know me, I tend to try to call it as I see it as best I can, and sometimes that's right, sometimes it's wrong, sometimes it rubs people the wrong way. But what I see is in the with lawyers I talk to, both excitement and fear, and I think that's
Yes.
probably where everybody is. And oftentimes, like, the fear gets expressed as, like, the word moat. And I did a LinkedIn post, and I'm like, yeah, moats weren't really that effective. Like, they were worked against infantry. They prevented people from tunneling under castles. But when gunpowder came along, you didn't have to tunnel under the castle, let alone
Yes.
an air force. Like, okay, your drone army flies over the moat. Like, not super effective. And so things like I think that attorneys rely on, like, well, my judgment is a moat. And it's like the intelligence can get as good and train on whatever it is you're doing. My workflows are moat. No, my experience is a moat. I'm going to lump that into something that can actually be learned over time. And you see it with like tech companies, like the data is the moat. Well, you see a lot of arguments surrounding that. And I mean, I posted in our community a bunch, like Thomson Reuters, Westlaw, like their stock is down like what, how much? Like it's like half the value it was
I mean,
last year.
yeah,
Yeah. And like
it's a lot.
LexisNexis, the same thing. Like the parent company, LexisNexis, like the same thing, right? Like the market's not seeing data as a moat, right? And it's like, don't make me root for Thomson Reuters, but there's something to be said for what is going on, and sort of we talked about this too in our community. $1.39 a day. Community is a way forward. Okay, community
Yes,
does matter. So
it's the only
join
way forward.
join the Best Era community. Get involved in your school community, your town community. Get involved in your bar association. Like absolutely, community matters and will continue to matter. So because it's human. Uh,
Mhm.
but I really think that, tell me where I'm going with this, Brittany. I'm just like I'm
I know,
experiencing
it's
pollen overload.
I know, me too. I'm looking out my window and it looks like it's snowing. I know
Gross.
these are big thoughts, right? Like to have. And so yeah, it gets overloaded easily. And it's a lot for each of us individually to have. So like you said, I think it is so important for us to keep coming back to community and having these conversations. They're difficult. I feel like a lot of us are afraid to express how we're feeling, whether good or bad, because the opinions and thoughts on AI are all over the place, and it almost sometimes feels taboo depending on like the crowd you're in of how people are going to react to it. So yeah, I think we just need to keep having these conversations, and yeah, it's going to be difficult for a lot of people because it does get very philosophical. It gets very morally based, and that's scary for a lot of people to grapple with, what's good and bad and where we should be going with things and how we solve it. And also, like you had said and brought it to this point of so many of us use work as our identity. And I think that is, it has obviously been around for a long time because it was something that from, the Bible that was being explored. So it's something that's obviously been around for centuries at this point. But there's certainly an aspect to it and that I see of, especially for us in the US and our deeply capitalistic society, that we've just been inherently trained to believe our only value is in our output. And that's a huge thing to have to grapple with, that maybe that isn't the future anymore. Like maybe there is going to be that profound change where you do have to start to realize that your value may be in something else that's not about generating someone else money, or even potentially just generating yourself money. I think some people have gotten better at that than others. Some people know and understand like it's healthy to take joy in hobbies that aren't a side hustle and that don't have to make you money, right? And they've learned that their job isn't their only identity and they can have other things. And you know, whether that means that those people might be inherently more, I don't know, equipped or adept to possibly handle what's coming. I don't know. But I agree with you that, a lot of us, especially lawyers, tie their identity to their work and the value that provides society. And if that changes, when that changes, how that changes, we don't know yet, but we need to start to think about it and talk about it and grapple with those feelings and figure it out.
Right. And this is why, like, I as I have an eclectic interests in different
Yeah,
things, right?
I do
And
too. Yeah.
one of the things that like Buddhism teaches, which I'm not a Buddhist, but I've like read a ton about it,
Yeah.
and I grew up a big MCA fan from the BC Boys, and so that's where this influence comes in, right? But one of the things that Buddhism teaches, and Christianity too, which are like the two religions I'm most familiar with, is that value is inherent. like our value is distinguished from our actions, right? Like that is like good or bad, and not just in a material way, but it's intrinsic value. Like it is in us by virtue of us being alive, right? And you're right, like that message gets muddled. And boy, if you're a lawyer, does that message get really muddled? Because it's like you enter the profession, what's your LSAT score? What school do you get into? What do you get a clerkship? Do you make a journal? Do you land a job at a prestigious firm? Do you get a job? Like there are all of these sorts of questions that are really at the heart of the legal profession that are super hard, and the legal profession does not teach at all, does not train at all that people's values are intrinsic. It is,
Mhm.
you are as good as your output, your billable hours. You are as good as your work product. You are as good as your reputation. You are as good as your verdicts. Whatever. Like it is a very the opposite of intrinsic value. And that is to me where you start to see a lot of the problems of suicide, depression,
Mhm.
alcohol abuse, and drug abuse that are rampant in the profession. It doesn't stem from so much the stress of the work, um, because look, I have been a lawyer for 20 years. Been a cashier, and being a cashier can be very stressful. And if you want to tell me, like, being a single mom who's cleaning hotel rooms, making basically minimum wage is somehow less stressful than being a lawyer who is making a middle class salary and working 40ish, I'm not going to believe you. But it's all stressful. So like why? But I think it gets into the fact that is like when you're a housekeeper, like you're not so much being enforced by those really like those outside values. You're simply trying to survive. And I see it in my law students where it's like they are looking for validation, external validation, right? And look,
Exactly.
we are way far afield. And I don't have the answers except for like if you're interested in this stuff and this is as we prepare our AI era event. And as we think about making it as relevant as possible and as valuable as possible, like I almost feel like, yeah, we call it AI era 2.0, but I almost feel like it's happened so fast that it could be like post AI era. Like we went
Right.
from like AI era one to like definitely like a post AI era, which is the question is essentially like, now what? Now what? And it's one that if you're interested in and like look, I mean, because I think if like we talk about so much with and like I don't think robots are gonna be eating our brain soon. I think like there's gonna be roles for human like I think all of I'm not like you know, humans are going to be put in a zoo in the next 10 years or something like that. Like, that's not where I'm going with this. But I think it's going to change radically. And I think when there's going to be radical change, there's going to be loss, there's going to be disruption, there's going to be um, reshifting of things. And I don't think in all of humanity that we've ever seen change happen this fast and this profoundly. Maybe in 2020 when COVID hit and things shut down, like that was really rapid and sudden and whatnot. But this level of change, like industrial revolutions happen over decades, agricultural revolutions happen over decades. This is really fast and profound. And if you aren't wrestling with this, like you're going to mess up your marketing. You're going to mess up your hiring. You're going to mess up your finances and where you can add value and how you can make money and how you can bill for it. You may mess up like how you spend your time and what you're investing in and what activities are of value to you, right? So maybe it is volunteering in your community. Maybe it is showing up at government meetings that you never had the time to show up for before or being involved in your bar organization because like look I mean if you're just basic bubba stuff like if we have a bunch of robotic cars driving around robots, you're not going to have personal injury suits. Like, you're all gone. The robots will say, okay, I'm going to trade you 5 block coin for ruining your car or whatever. I mean, and that's further off. But I think it's really important that you position yourself and wrestle with these theological, philosophical, moral, existential questions at least as deeply as you wrestle with the what can AI do for me? How can I use agentic AI to automate my processes? Where are these use cases that are sort of valuable? And even a year ago, and when we did it in November, I didn't feel this way at all. Like, I think it was way more on the other side of like, what is an MCP connector and how can you automate this and how can you do this? But 6 months later, I'm fully in a camp of like, that's part of it, but that's a small part of the story.
Absolutely. All right, I think we've heard all of our brains enough today.
Well, that's the other thing. I posted this article. I'm just going to cite to myself, Brittany, because why not? Which is like, like it was an engineering article on Reddit where it talked about how we used to get dopamine hits from doing all these small tasks, but now the small tasks are gone. And now we're left with like these much bigger decisions as to like what this means, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, it's exhausting.
It
It's
is
exhausting.
exhausting.
So we will be in Charleston, but we will have amazing food. We will have
We will.
amazing people. We will make sure to take walks and breaks and enjoy amazing Charleston weather in November and all of those things to break it up and to honor you as a whole. Maybe we have Anastasia to come do yoga with us or something. I don't know.
I think that's a great idea. Yes.
Maybe.
With the more, I think we're going to see a lot more human and not that, of course, last year was very human. We were all in person and lots of great stuff. But yeah, I have a feeling there's going to be a lot more of a central theme around bringing the human even more back in the loop than it was last year. And however that looks, we'll figure that out in 5
Well,
months' time. But
maybe our stickers and shirts this year are just human.
yeah, yes, yeah,
Forget the
we'll have
loop.
to the loop. Yeah, we just want the humans back.
We want the humans back. So with that, Brittany, non-NoahCon version aside, which
Yes,
is tough
yes, I
because
know.
I have not stopped listening to The Great Divide, which
Me
now came
neither.
out a month ago, which I think I like. It is
Hey, no one,
such,
everyone else is doing the same thing because he's still what? This is like week 3, week 4. He's #1 on the Billboard charts still, I think. So
you
yeah.
know, I was listening to an interview with him on Apple, and he was talking about how he begins the album in like a happy place and he ends the
Mhm,
album in a happy place. And it's like the
mhm,
first and last line. This is why I'm a big fan of records and albums and experiences as opposed to, the kids who like the TikTok 3-minute singles. Like,
I know.
I need more depth in my relationship. Like, I need to be
I
in
get it.
love with my art.
I love my Taylor for that reason. So
I need to
yeah,
be in love with my art. So, but
yeah.
anyhow, so Noah's talking about this, and he's like, you've got sort of the messy middle in between of all these conflicting things, but things usually start well and end well. And I was like, that's a beautiful message. I'm like, there's a deep thinking guy. Okay, so non Noah
After we just
Con.
said we're not going to talk about Noah, but yeah, no. What am I consuming right now? I have been uh, well, I've been reading a really good novel that I'm into called The Briar Club by Kate Quinn. So highly suggest that if you're a fiction lover, but takes place in like the 60s about a bunch of women who all live at a boarding house in DC. So all different conflicting lives and immigrants and all that stuff and the way they come together. Love that. And I've also been when I'm not listening to our friend that we won't talk about anymore, I actually have been doing a lot of instrumental listening with Vitamin String Quartet. Do you listen to any of that? I like they basically they take like all the top like hits and stuff and it's a like string quartet instrumental version of everything. So if you're I know you aren't, but if you watch Bridgerton and are a Bridgerton fan, you know that like a lot of their, when they're doing their balls, all their music is today's hits, but like as a string instrumental. And so Vitamin String Quartet is like the ones that produce that sort of music and stuff. So anyways, when I need to be in the zone and vibe coding with Claude. I usually like put that on,
I'm gonna
make
be
my neurons fire.
I'm gonna be truthful,
Yeah.
but I was because we flew to Orlando and all I did was listen to Noah Khan, and so I'm not out of that. So, but I'm not really into anything else. I'm not really watching anything or reading anything. But I was in my Woo Wednesday feed. They had Method Man had posted something about it was like Notorious B.I.G. rapping over the song Cream. So if you can find that, like definitely find it. It was really fun to see. And we talked about like the good parts of the internet. Like when I grew up in the 90s, that would have been a huge thing, but you could never find it. Like maybe your friend pulled it off of MTV if it was video recorded or something. But
Legally downloaded it on LimeWire.
go yeah, I was before even the 90s didn't have
Or
LimeWire, Brittany. Didn't we had
no,
mixtapes.
the 90s did not. You're correct.
We
Yeah,
literally had
you'd have to like
mixtapes.
you'd have to like sit there by the radio and like record it on like
Yeah. No, you didn't have to record by the radio. Cassette players went in a boombox,
that's true. You
and then
could
if
hit
you just
record. You're
record and
right.
it
That's
recorded
right.
the radio.
That's true.
So that was our thing. But anyhow, so if you're out there and you like Wu-Tang and Notorious B.I.G., highly recommend you check out Biggie rapping over the song Cream, which is what I'm going to go listen to after we wrap up this philosophical edition
Yeah.
of the
I was
Way
gonna say
podcast.
that's a good way to end it because I feel like with all of this, one way to take care of ourselves, I think mentally and emotionally, is just go consume art. Like just enjoy art. I think that's a good way to help us decompress from all these big topics.
Or go use a flamethrower to go weeding, which is my new favorite way of touching grass.
I
Fantastic.
mean, I think that's art too.
Do you have one of those?
Thankfully, I think I do not. I am fairly positive that's the one tool my mom and I have been able to keep out of my dad's hands.
Well,
But I'm sure.
Father's Day
I
is coming
know.
up, and maybe he's a big fan of ours on LinkedIn. Maybe
He
we
is. I
reward
was
our
gonna
biggest fan
say-
with a flamethrower.
I was gonna say I'm surprised he hasn't mentioned, hey, I saw Ryan's been flame throwing.
It's so much
And
fun.
we do need to weed. We're trying to make a new fire pit in our backyard, and we need to weed out an area for it. So we'll see.
And-
We'll see. Maybe.
And if you need to light a fire pit,
I know it
It's
is a
dual
twofer,
use.
so
it's $50 and a can of propane, and you have fun the whole summer. I mean, it's
all right.
the
You
way
sold
to
me.
go.
You
It's
sold
the way to
me.
go.
Yeah.
And to celebrate your pagan tradition, you burn the Christmas tree and those things go up. I mean, you have all sorts of fun with this. And
Yeah, no,
also,
it's
Brittany,
true.
also in the Northeast, dual use ice, no match.
True.
Yeah,
That's
you
true
get
too.
icy walkway, blow fire, flamethrower that. I mean, the flamethrower is a thing that you have been missing your whole life, and you can find me wherever you can find me on social with my meta glasses and my flamethrower.
We're gonna need to start doing the like shop my influencer links on these things, so you can start making money from all your
I know.
products.
Yeah, no, I really should. Yeah, I should.
All right. We'll
All
see
right.
you next time.
All right, bye.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of The Way with Best Era. Be sure to visit our website. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform. Until next time, keep striving for your version of success.